Unpack the ANC statement. I'm now joined by Cosatu President Zingiswa Losi. Thank you very much, Ms. Losi, for your time here on eNCA. Now, of course, yesterday, that January 8th statement by the President, what came out of that was most important was that one page, as we saw at this side, about what the ANC plans to do to strengthen the Integrity Commission and make sure that people who face corruption are suspended. But this is something that they're picking up from the 54th National Conference. We're not hearing this for the first time. How do we as South Africans believe that this is really going to happen this time around?
Good morning and thank you for having me. Indeed, it is correct that this is coming from the 54th National Conference of the ANC, and including the strengthening of the Integrity Commission. What will be important for South Africans to believe is when action is being taken. Because we must also say that as a federation that we have seen actions being taken in different provinces of leaders who are allegedly being charged, who are charged actually for alleged corruption. They have been set aside. The confusion became when at the national level, leaders are supposed to face the same fate of the members at the level of the regions and the provinces, and this had to become an interpretation. And we think that the 54th National Conference was very clear, as the President has spoken about it also yesterday, as a way of emphasis, not a new thing, but for South Africans to believe, but also for the members of the African National Congress to also believe that resolution of the conference is a national resolution for all members of the African National Congress. It is when it is implemented to the latter, same as it has been for those that are at the lower level of leadership in the African National Congress. So action is going to speak louder than words.
Of course. Now, President Losi, there's also that aspect about the workers, the working class. Cosatu, for instance, has been speaking quite openly and even threatening, for instance, the ANC to tell its members not to come out and vote in May, specifically Nahawu, your affiliates Nahawu, after that public service agreement was basically, there was a stab in the back on the part of government, Nahawu believes. Of course, the President saying that the NEC has agreed to improve the economy, for instance, and make things better for the working class, but you're still fighting the PSA with the government and even taking them to the Constitutional Court next month.
You know, in the January 8th statement, we welcome what the President was saying about the ANC supporting Cosatu, but Cosatu is not Cosatu without its affiliates, without its members that it represents. And for the government of the African National Congress to allow the Treasury to undermine the collective bargaining at the PSCBC level is not a true reflection of what the statement is saying with regards to the ANC support to Cosatu. Because when members, their livelihood is being destroyed because government of the African National Congress is not adhering to a signed collective bargaining, for us, it says that workers are on their own. The African National Congress is not in support of them. So the ANC must lead. The ANC must lead and ensure that those that are in government implement the policies of the African National Congress. So when the policy statement of the ANC read yesterday by the President suggests that the ANC supports Cosatu, but also suggests that it is going to take care of the workers in this country, it must be expressed by what those that are deployed in government are doing. So we don't want to see a contradiction. So workers are legitimately angry, and they have every right to be angry towards the African National Congress and its government on the basis of what has happened at the level of the PSCBC. And I must say that, look, now we're facing the second wave of this pandemic, coronavirus. It is the very same workers in the public service who have been denied their increment, who have been told by the Treasury that in the next 4 years you're not going to see any increment, and yet you expect them to wake up every morning motivated to go and save the lives of South Africans. This is a huge contradiction coming from the same employer who says we give support, and yet those members do not even have a risk allowance, just as a way of showing that we really appreciate the work that you are doing.
Now, very quickly, I'm running out of time. You have overcome history, becoming the first female president of Cosatu. And yesterday, the president speaking, of course, about the other pandemic that South Africa faces, GBV. And he spoke precisely about members of the ANC who face charges or allegations of violence against women and children. For instance, that Mpumalanga official who's accused of raping his own children, for instance. What's your reaction to that part of what this year's statement has said?
We really welcome the fact that it also touched on the issues of gender-based violence, and the president was very firm that the leaders within the African National Congress that are charged for such crimes do not belong to the African National Congress but belong in jail. And we hope that the members of the ANC at the ground level, you see, this must not be politicized. This must not be factionalized within the ranks of the African National Congress at the branch level, at all levels. People, we must be able to say we are members of the ANC, that is a leader of society. And when you lead society, you must be exemplary. And therefore, leaders that are alleged to have committed such crimes of gender-based violence cannot be given support by members of the African National Congress. People must go and face their time. People must go and stand in front of a judge and present themselves there and let the courts of this country make a determination. And when they are found not guilty, let us deal with that. But in the process going there, surely the president was very clear, and we hope that the members of the African National Congress are hearing this, that those must go and face the crimes that they are being alleged and let the courts decide. And we support that statement. Women in this country and young children have suffered a lot. And as we have clearly defined it, this is another pandemic. It has always been here, and it's a societal matter. It is not just the issue of the president, and it's going to take all of us as members of society, as members of the African National Congress and the Alliance, to lead by example on these matters.
President Losi, my last question to you, of course, the vaccination that is coming through, 1.5 million doses by the end of February, very positive news. But of course, people look at a party such as the ANC that has been embroiled in so much corruption, the lowest, as I keep saying, being that PPE corruption that also affects your affiliates and your members. Now the vaccines are coming through. How important is it that the ANC president actually makes smaller the gap between his role as president of the party and shows that it's more important to be president of the country right now?
Indeed, it will be very, very important that the president step up on those matters. But also, I think we hope that the government of the African National Congress has learned from the PPE scandal, that when we deal with this vaccine that South Africans are awaiting for, particularly the frontline workers, it is going to be stringent on how it is going to be distributed, the procurement processes, even for those that have produced the vaccine. We don't expect that they are themselves going to be hiking up prices and making profits, huge profit margins out of this. And we hope that from the PPE scandal, which we're still waiting for those that have been alleged to really be facing the rule of law on this, of law in these matters. We hope that here we are not going to hear not even a name being counted that somebody is being alleged of being corruption, both in government and also in the private sector, because corruption does not only flow from one side. It is as a result of those that are prepared to corrupt others and those that are being corrupted. So we hope that the president is going to lead on these matters and be central in ensuring that he does the overseeing of things as we move forward, because indeed people are dying from this pandemic, and we hope that even with the Minister of Health, he will also be hands-on and allow officials, and we are calling also on members of Cosatu, workers in this country who are in administration of these processes, to also refuse to process things that they know that they are not legitimate, to refuse to process things that are corruption by its nature. It's going to take all of us as workers who are victims of the pandemic, victims of corruption in this country, to also say, I shall not be counted on those that are deemed to be corrupt, but I'm going to be a whistleblower.
My last question to you, I just want to go back to the Constitutional Court case that Cosatu and Nahawu are preparing for in terms of public service workers. Now, the government, obviously officials in the government, including National Treasury itself and the minister there, seems to forget that they themselves are also public servants. And probably they should also look at themselves also not getting any increments for 4 years to help the fiscus that they keep saying is under strain.
Indeed, you are so correct. And also, we have always said that this this thing of government always being obsessed that the wage bill of the public servants is the one that is putting a strain on the fiscus. And yet, they are not counting themselves that they are also being paid out of that fiscus, that the SOEs, the salaries of those that are in the SOEs is part of public service. They are also not counting the huge bailouts that are being given to some of the state-owned entities that are embroiled in corruption and are being taken on its knees. And it is correct what you are raising, that when they consider all the actions that they want to take against workers, they must also be exemplary by saying that we want to lead this process by ensuring that what we are giving, the medicine, we are also going to be the first ones that are going to be taking it. But we also say that workers must continue to fight for what is rightfully theirs, because workers cannot be the makers and the builders of this economy, and tomorrow they become the first victims when the economy is crashing.
Now, I know I keep saying that I'm going to let you go, but of course, talking about the economy of our country, the ANC, can take a bit of a while. We know that Mfuleni has been one of those municipalities that have been a thorn for the ANC for a while. They've been under administration. Even with the new mayor there, they're still under administration, and they still are getting very bad feedback from the Auditor General. Now, of course, this year being the year for municipal elections, and the President citing the importance of making sure that corrupt officials are taken to account. What is the Cosatu saying about what's happening in Mfuleni?
Look, not just Mfuleni. This is, to us, evidence of the fact that it seems as if the three spheres of government do not talk to each other. Because if there was such a consistent protocols being followed of one sphere reporting to the other and one knowing what the other sphere is doing, we shouldn't be where municipalities are. Because Kokta, Salga going down should be able to make interventions soonest, should be able to say that when they sit and do audits, it can't be that only the Auditor General should be the one that is able to pinpoint to the issues that of maladministration. What has been other officials and politicians that are meant to oversee these processes doing? And we think that Mfuleni is just an example of the non-coordination of the three spheres of government. And we hope that when we go to the municipal elections, we shouldn't be waking up to these issues and realizing how bad they are because we're going for a local government election. Because local government election, the municipalities are the ones that are connected to our people, and service delivery is taking place there. So our all efforts from the national government should be about the local municipalities in the first instance. So we hope that those that are supposed to have ensured that they are able to oversee the processes are also taken to account, because how would they have missed it such that only the Auditor General is able to pick this up? So we are saying that let us not as a country only wake up when we are close to elections, be it general elections, be it local government elections, because people do not only exist during elections, people exist every day. And these challenges that municipalities are facing are everyday challenges. When we're calling for our people to start paying services, we must make them to understand the importance of them paying those services. But as they do so, playing their role, those officials that are meant to give service delivery when they receive those funds from the public, they must be used for what they're intended for, not for corrupt purposes.
Well, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much for engaging us. That is, of course, Cosatu President Zingiswa Losi coming to us live there. Now, let's take